All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise and glory unto
Yahweh,
Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kakudash, double honors under the elders, Apostle Great Millstone, the elders Great Millstone, and of course, peace and blessings under the hopeful elect, the sincere servants of Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, serving him in truth and sincerity. Yeah, so if you can start me off with 2nd Ezra chapter 9, because hey, as we know, a lot of things are happening. You know, well, obviously we just had the Israel and Hamas, or Slakia, the Israel and Iran, pretty much, you know, Israel pretty much sent a strike upon Iran, showing you that what we're in those times. The scriptures speak about how there's going to be wars and rumors of wars in Matthew chapter 24. So right now we are in those times. So Con, if you can read that.
Yeah, this is the book of 2nd Ezra 9:1. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will be made to visit the world which he made.
Exactly. And we're looking at these times through the scriptures. So that's how we're measuring, of course, these times, of course, through the scriptures, and so linking up the current events with prophecy. So right now, we understand how we are clearly at the end times. Of course, we know Nero is in office. He's making a lot of things going to pass. And just these wars happening around the world, man. So we clearly understand how we're in those times. And Con, you can keep on reading.
Yeah, verse 3, it says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee.
Exactly. So all these things have already been prophesied, man. So we already expect these things to come.
Yep.
Whatever the scriptures tell us, we already know what's about to happen. We already know how there's going to be a war, but before the war, there's going to be implementation of the mark of the beast that's spoken about, of course, in Revelation chapter 13 and 16. So of course, we know that that's the seed, that's the implant that they want to put in everybody. But we understand that these things are coming by the way of the scriptures, and ultimately what the Lord has put the Spirit upon, the elder apostles and elders of Great Millstone on down to break these things down onto us. So we know of course, through the scriptures we know the future. We know what's about to happen.
God. Keep reading.
Yeah.
2nd Ezra 9:4, it says, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning.
Exactly. Yep. Go on, and then give me real quick Matthew chapter 24, where it speaks about the rumors of wars.
Yep.
Because again, we're in those times of war, and it's going to keep on getting worse. But World War III, the climax of World War III won't pop up, which the climax is, the nuclear war, when, it's all out nuclear warfare. The nation shooting their missiles upon Babylon and Great. Ultimately, the full blown out nuclear war won't happen until the mark of the beast is implemented. Until, of course, until that happens, World War III won't start. But as we know, of course, that's literally right around the corner. Of course, again, with Nero in office, the cruel Lord and the fierce king, which is Trump. The Isaiah chapter 19 goes into how a cruel Lord and a fierce king will rule over Egypt. So of course, with him in office, we know that's speeding up, man. That's literally right around the corner. Could be this year, could be next year. The CHIP is implemented.
Yeah, and we see that this guy Trump, he's doing his best, or at least so it seems, to resolve the conflict with Iran, diplomatically, right? But that ain't the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. All right. Soon, it's gonna be a full-blown world war. Okay, and Trump knows that he doesn't want to continue conflict with Iran, because who's backing Iran? All right, Russia. All right. So the more Israel, goes in and there's more attacks on Iran, we know that America, Babylon, is an ally of Israel. All right. So soon, because the scriptures go into, the least of the flock shall draw them out. That's going into the little hats. All right. So the Lil Hats is gonna draw out who? All right, America. All right, Russia. All right, these different superpowers. That's gonna cause the climax of World War III, which is that destruction. Okay.
Yeah, hey, because I was reading this article. It says the U.S. confirmed it was not involved in the Israeli operation, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasizing the priority of protecting American forces. It says the U.S. Embassy advised citizens to shelter in place and began evacuating non-essential personnel due to the threat of Iranian retaliation. Hey, so yeah, adding on to your point, ultimately, which hey, anyways. Hey, anyways, what the scriptures say, how these other nations will make war. So, no matter how much prevention you try to make for, the U.S., try to solve things out diplomatically, it's not going to work.
Right.
So, Con, you got that?
Yeah, Matthew 24:6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet."
Yeah,
go ahead.
So what? Ultimately, again, so these wars and rumors of wars are happening. So again, the latest example of that, is this new, again, Israel versus Iran. But yeah, but what the key point is that read the latter half.
Yep. It says, "See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet."
Yeah, exactly. So all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Meaning that with the things before, again, there's ultimately we're waiting for the implementation of the mark of the beast to happen.
Yep.
And once of course that happens, then the scriptures speak about how the World War III will happen right after that. But again, this doesn't mean when it says the end is not yet, doesn't mean that it's going to take 6 more years for the MOTB to finally be implemented. Nah, hey, this could be the span between 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. 8 months, 12 months. That's the point. But again, we are in the end times. But again, we understand that the implementation of the mark of the beast is very, very soon.
Right.
As the Elder Apostle Har says, months away. Again, could be 6, could be 12, could be 18. But the point is that we're months away. So
yeah.
Con, you can keep reading.
Verse 7, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows."
Yeah, exactly. So all these are the beginning of sorrows. So famine, pestilences, earthquakes, and without a doubt, all of those things are happening as we speak, man. Famines, pestilences, earthquakes, and it's only going to get worse.
Yep. Keep reading. I got
yes.
it.
Or actually, I wanted you to get Joel chapter 3, 3 and 9.
All right, yeah. Joel 3 and 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all men of war draw near, let them come up."
Yeah, so prepare war. And that's what's happening. So the Lord, again, so this the Lord's doing, man. No matter how much you try to be a diplomat and negotiate things and stuff, hey, ultimately what's prophesied within the scriptures will happen, which is World War III. You can't stop it.
Yeah, that's a good point, because these different Esau, he has a certain plan that's not coming, right? You got these guys who's doing these protests, right? You got the No Kings protests, right, which is, I guess, is going on in many different cities, nationwide and such. But that's really a protest against Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, right? Because that's not the spirit that the Lord is coming with. All right, protesting and these different worldly affairs. All right, the Lord is dealing with those who got that a spiritual eye. All right, and this is the true protest, spiritual protest, right? Coming against this kingdom, with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures. Coming against this kingdom, with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures. All right, all this other stuff, worldly affairs. All right, that's not the will of the Lord. All right, this is the will of the Lord. Coming out and preaching is coming. Going into biblical prophecy. All right, to keeping watch of what's going on. Right, because we know that the Lord is soon to make his return. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, ultimately, the scriptures say, "Woe unto them who that pretty much go down onto Egypt." So you can't expect Esau to help you. With these protests and trying to beg Esau for this and that. Ultimately, what the scriptures say, "Wait ye upon me." The Lord said, "Wait ye upon me." So ultimately, what we're waiting for Yahweh Shem Shai, to make a change. We're not going to get up in masses and protest. Pretty much walk down the streets. So what? Esau can make some change, because ultimately, ultimately Esau is for himself, and he's for his agenda, which is what ultimately that and of course what making that come to pass, the NWO. So ultimately he's not concerned about what the masses want, the people want.
I got a precept.
You got it.
This is the book of 2 Peter 3:13. It says, "Nevertheless, we according to his promise look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness." And that new heaven and new earth, that's what's gonna solve, the problem, right? That's what's gonna fix everything. Everything being in order, everything being how the Lord intended it to be. All right, and that's what we look for. We don't look to hold hands with the Edomites. We don't look to be equal, with the Edomites. All right, we looking for that righteous rulership, that righteous dominion, where the Edomites is in captivity, right? Because they're wicked people. Okay, and for the Israelites to be on top. All right, that's what we look for. We don't look to be equal with the Edomites. We don't look to be good in this society, because that's not gonna happen. Not with this devil in power. All right, the only way for the Israelites, all right, to come back on top is through the return of Yahweh Shai.
Which is funny, because if you look at it, the majority of society will frown on us, saying that we're the chosen people. We have an inheritance with the world. We actually, we should have everything, right, according to the scriptures. And everyone will frown upon that. But the so-called Ish people, that's what they currently do now. They currently say that they and they talk about the goyim this, the goyim that, right?
Yeah.
And they think themselves to be above everybody else, but no one bats an eye at their, what their belief is, or what, all that. But when we say it, based upon the scriptures, we're the ones that are wrong. We're the ones that's like, oh no, you don't. But it just it's crazy, because as they say that, it just validates the scriptures, validates exactly who we are. Scriptures talk about how we're a byword and what's that, a byword, and then also
proverb, byword.
Proverb, byword. And it also talks about how when those people were going to be delivered, they're going to say, "This is he," who we sometimes found in derision. That prophecy, okay, when those men, who they may be, we know who they are, but those people, who they may be, that's what's going to happen. They're going to be astonished, like, how is it that these are the ones being saved? Sure as hell ain't going to be those Ish people, because
Yeah, because we use the scriptures to wait upon the Lord. They're using the scriptures, to wage war upon their own hands. Okay, we're using the scriptures to wait upon the Lord, because we know that Yahweh Shai is going to do the delivering. Okay, so and that's how those ain't the people. All right.
And we also ain't out here fucking protesting to the government, or exercising our right to protest to try to change how America runs. It ain't about that, we in a way are protesting, but we're protesting based upon the scriptures say, by going out in the highways and byways and speaking this word and saying the downfall of this kingdom. These guys ain't protesting the downfall of the kingdom. They just they want things to be done. They want things to be done right. They want to build back better type of mindset.
They did a raid on there was I guess a factory, a food factory.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And they took out half of their workers, because it was half of the workers was undocumented. But they can apply for visas, so that's what they were told. They can apply for work visas.
Yep.
So
well, a lot of
these
guys, a work visa expires and then they live under the radar.
During the actual raid, they said they can apply for work visas.
Oh, right.
So they're giving them the option to apply for work visas. If I was interpreting it correctly.
Oh, okay.
But the owner, they interviewed the owner, and he didn't know that they could apply for work visas. But he was using a government link to verify, not him directly, because he's the owner. Like the people that were the human resources were using the government, resources to verify their identity and everything. And it went through their e-signature, whatever that software they use. I guess they were using fake identification when they were being e-verified or whatever system they use is called. And the owner said he didn't know. He said they're using an e-verified system, which is either government or third-party system to verify the migration status or visa status of the workers. So you had its car hiding in the warehouse. It's on YouTube. It's free to the ICE and Homeland Security. I guess they invited that news agency inside during the raid so they could document it. They only let that one news agency. I believe they was in Wisconsin. I believe they was up north somewhere, or Dakota, one of those countries up there. And Issachar was running, man.
Yep.
And some people are invoking the Sliders episode, which is called California Reich. Somebody looked that up. Sliders episode, California Reich, and basically Rembrandt, the only Jake on the show. Well, no, I guess the other dude is Irish too, the main character. But he's the only brown Jake on the show. I believe that he got arrested. And they looked at him as basically they were predictive programming. All right, Sliders episode, California Reich, and I believe if I've got their episode right. They were going around rounding up people in the truck, like a white truck with no windows, I believe. Edomites, obviously, rounding up immigrants. And that came out like '94 or something like that. Sliders episode, California Reich. And you can get Luke 21:9 and look up the word commotions. It tells you that. So this is prophecy. Everybody's playing their part. This is like Shakespeare, they invoke his name. The world is a stage, and we're the actors, we're the players. So everybody's playing out their part. So if you're in the protest, that's what you were meant to do. We're not involved in the protests, in the immigration, migration, illegal or legal migration protests. All right, we're Bible men. We read from the scriptures. That's what our expertise is. All right, so read the scripture, and then give me the episode of Sliders.
Yeah. So this is Luke 21:9. It says, "But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified. For these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by."
Right, it's not by and by, not yet. And it's not yet come. And Matthew probably said something like that. So commotions, look up commotions.
Yep.
That's what the protests are. They're migration protests. So they're saying like, well, if they've been here working for so long, should give them some grace. And I don't believe 100% of people that they're collecting. I don't think they're deporting them all. I guess it depends on, but they're subject to arrest. If you are here illegally, so to speak, you're subject to detainment. All right, so hey, if you are the elect, hey, you ain't gonna get detained. Now, not because you get deported don't mean you ain't the elect, but the salvation is gonna take place mainly here, Great Babylon, America. So that's what a nuclear fire. You're being saved from the nuclear fire. All right. Now you got the definition, all that?
Yeah. So the word for commotions is akatatastia. It says instability, a state of disorder, disturbance, confusion.
All right. So you got the extreme people on the far right are saying, "Oh, this is insurrection." But was January 6th an insurrection? Or did you have agents among January 6th? You had people that was actually supporting Trump. You had people that were basically agents that was just going there to cause chaos. Yep. So January 6th wasn't an insurrection. This ain't an insurrection. By the way, they're going to enforce the law. So and they're not going to have mercy. All right. But Trump did say, okay, as a side note, or he mentioned it, said if he may have something in the law or bill for people that are working like on the farms to have they get granted a visa or something like that, or have an exception. But he said that in kind of passing. He said it in passing. So we'll see if he actually do that. But people that they're raiding, yeah, they're workers. They're people that are actually working and paying taxes. You know, even if they lied and, you know, used fake identities. Because apparently it must have not have been easy to get a visa. Or they didn't know. So, so that was it?
What's one more word in strong definitions? It says tumult. I looked it up. And it says New Oxford American Dictionary, a loud, confused noise, especially one caused by a large mass of people. So
yeah, protest. That's one example of protest, and or riot or insurrection. All right, but these are not insurrections. People vandalizing property, destroying neighborhoods and businesses, looting. That's not an insurrection against the government. All right, that's just disorderly conduct, robbery, theft. So you got the episode of Sliders?
Yeah, Con. So it says Sliders from the wiki. It says California Reach. Reich. It says the Sliders land on a world where California has been taken over by racists. It says Rembrandt Brown is captured and placed in a prison camp used to turn the racially impure.
He's the only melanated person on the show, and he's the only one that survived through all the seasons of the show, which is kind of ironic. All right, from season 1 to I think season 6, or how many seasons is it? 5, 4? It's sci-fi stuff. If they're not into sci-fi, they probably don't care or know. But yeah, he's the only one, ironically, that survived through all the seasons. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was replaced. Even the O'Connor, I believe he was the producer. Exactly. He's Irish, so he's
But it's funny.
Yeah, 5 seasons. 5 seasons.
5 seasons.
It's funny because you have the opposite in a lot of these shows. I mean, The Walking Dead had a stigma that every time they would introduce a black person to Walking Dead, immediately kill him off in the season.
So this is 90s though. So you probably kill him off early now.
That's what they did with Walking Dead.
Unless they're the main character anyway. So I believe it was like an early '90s show. O'Connor. What's his name? What's the executive producer's actor name? The main character. Was it? I believe he's Irish.
It's Jerry O'Connell.
Jerry O'Connell. Yeah, he did a few movies too. But he's mainly known for that series Slider, which is 5 seasons. So California Reich. So continue on that Rembrandt Brown, and that's kind of like Brown, really. Rembrandt. What Rembrandt mean? Look that up. Rembrandt. And he was an insider. O'Connell guy. He was an insider. They make a show called Sliders. Basically, you slide to different. Y'all familiar with the show? No. Show. Basically, it's an interdimension. He discovers the main character O'Connell. I forget his name. Quinn was his name on the show. He discovered interdimensional travel. So every world they slide to, they call it sliding. It's different dimensions. So every dimension is a version of Earth. Same Earth, different dimension, basically.
Oh, kind of like.
So it's different. So everything's different. So they had the Hitler scenario. Everything's different. Sometimes you'll have women ruling, or it's a technocracy, or it's like they didn't progress, and it's like the 1600s, you know. But same Earth, same time period, but it's a different dimension. So basically, different scenarios taking place of how the people in the perspective San Francisco area. Basically, every time they slide to the same area. And one time they slid or dimension travel onto a ship. So one time I think part of California detached from the mainland. But continue with the synopsis on the show.
Gone. So it says Rembrandt Brown is captured and placed in a prison camp used to turn the racially impure into faceless slaves.
Yeah, so they basically turned the robots. I forgot that element. Yeah, they did. They basically ran into a trash truck. And the trash truck was basically, he had no, his facial identity was taken away from him. He basically was a robot, this like a mindless automaton, taking the trash out. All right, so that's ultimately what they were doing to the migrant workers. They would detain them, and then they would basically convert them into mindless automatons used to do menial tasks. Necessary tasks, not menial, but necessary repetitive tasks. All right, now continue.
Yeah, that's it.
That was it? All right,
yeah.
So
I got a little.
Can you get like a picture of Rembrandt, and then get a picture of the automaton from Wikipedia or from the Google images? But you got something else to say?
Yeah, Rembrandt.
That's Rembrandt Brown. That's Rembrandt. The only guy's melanated person on the show. So it's predictive programming. But they put it in movies and TV shows, and they say it on the news. before it's about to happen. And that's like 30 years ago, almost.
Yeah, 30. 95.
1995.
Yeah.
So we went from like 1995 to like 2000, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Early 2000s. That's remember, and they get the automaton. There was a trash truck scene when they ran into the trash truck blocked them. And they were chasing somebody. I think Rembrandt just got kidnapped. And they put him, they threw him in a white truck with no windows on there. I believe they didn't have no windows on there. Edomites, you know, with the Edomites. They threw him in the truck. Rembrandt, while he's on the street, I believe they just slid in to that dimension, and I believe they got separated or something like that, or he was looking at something. Then the truck pulled up and then snatched Rembrandt, threw him in the truck, and they went to check out the truck. I believe they hijacked another truck and they went after him, but then the trash truck blocked their path, so they couldn't get past. It was like a set. You could tell it was a set somewhere in Los Angeles. But when the trash truck guy got out, I believe he had like no face with his weird pale face, and he was like a robot, just picking trash up, putting in the truck.
This right here? Or?
That's the sliding device. But put the phrase they use. No, put the episode in. It should come up.
State of the art, right? Or
no, that's not state. California Right.
Oh, it's the same episode.
Yeah, same episode. Yeah.
Let's see.
I believe it. So that could be a goal. So you transforming them, you destroying the AI thing, where they save the Indian or kill the Indian, save the man, something like that. That was a phrase.
Oh yeah.
Kill the Indian, save the man, and they want to kill your soul and replace it with AI.
Yep.
But they can't really do that. The phrase still is like to reprogram you and make you conform to the system. So the image of the beast, you know, they want you to. That's the government, the law. You follow the system that's set up, and then you take the implant to be able to engage within the system. Right? So you gotta worship the image of the beast. So that's what the episode was.
You gotta understand the way people already are relying on technology as heavy as it is. You know, we like the way AI is taking over and how convenient it is and how easy it is to use. Like it's only a matter of time before you get more and more involved with it, where they go into the transhumanism. That's ultimately Esau's goal, is to mend man with machine.
Yeah, but with the full face though. That's only they got her before she fully got converted.
And that ultimate mending man with machine is putting that RFID chip inside your brain or inside your body.
Biracial or something like that. Still unpure, so they wouldn't go convert her. I think her father was Mexican or something like that. I forget. I gotta watch the episode again. And they caught her from mixing it up with another character. But that's the half. That's right before it got totally taken over. But if you can find the exact trash truck scene, then it'll show you the actual when Rembrandt just got abducted and they traced him into the alleyway. But then the trash truck blocked the progress forward. And then I believe Quinn was yelling at him, and they wasn't like responding. It was like he had that whole like a pale face, that color, because they basically reprogrammed the migrant worker or the immigrant, the illegal alien, so to speak, and made them throw him in the service industry. So get the equivalent of Words and Commotions. Matter of fact, finish reading because you still have more there.
Okay.
21:9. Read. Start over again.
Luke 21:9. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must come first to pass, but the end is not by and by. Yep. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation.
Yeah, you got the Iran, Israeli conflict going back and forth. They won't allow them to technologically progress forward. So, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can tell someone has a certain percentage of enrichment. I don't think that's something like you can keep private. I believe by satellites or there's some technique you can use. I forget, but I don't think you can actually hide that. And I think the Israelis are the only ones that are saying that they're developing a nuclear bomb or a nuclear warhead to put on a missile or something. Go ahead.
Luke 21:10. Then said he unto them.
That was what George Bush said to validate his claim of weapons of mass destruction, right? He was saying there was weapons of mass destruction, and that's what he used to basically justify all the hell that he was putting on the Middle East and stuff like that. Yeah, they're producing weapons of mass destruction. Here it is, what, freaking 20 some years later, they're still apparently producing weapons of mass destruction, according to the Israelis. They're trying to. Yeah.
Luke 21:10. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you, and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before rulers and kings for my name's sake, and it shall turn to you for a testimony.
Yeah. So when those things happen, when they arrest us for simply, we're not breaking the law, we're obeying the law, when we're exercising our First Amendment right and all that. Look up the 5 pillars of the First Amendment. So the only thing they can get us on is manufacturing lies. And it's going to turn for a testimony, which is a witness, that we are the children of Yahweh Shai. But it says that that Romans 12 or Romans 10. It says that the spirit of stuff bears the witness without spirit.
Yep.
Get that too. Get that precept. That Romans or Corinthians. So we know that we truly believe that we descend from Jacob, from one of the tribes of Jacob. All right. Our progenitor, our father, who was promised that we was going to be Yahweh's people, and serve Yahweh, and He's going to make us prosper, and we're going to multiply in the earth. The promises were given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you'll find those promises in the book of Genesis. Those promises were not given to the other nations. There was no promise made to the other nations.
Yep.
So any promise that was given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was given strictly to Israel. There were no promises given to other nations. Because within the law, because the law is not against the promise. I believe we were going over this last week.
Yep.
The laws are not against the promise. All right? So if it says that Egypt or Gentiles, those are Israelites. Those are the sons that came out of Jacob, the kings that come out of thy loins.
No, it was Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai wasn't against the promise, but to further validate the promise. Because he had said that. He had said, "I'm not come to destroy the law of the prophets. I'm not come to destroy to fulfill." But they'll have you believe in, the Christian church will have you believe in that. When so-called Jesus Christ came on scene, it kind of
he changed the promise.
Yeah, he changed the promise to produce, to have everybody involved in the promise. But no, that's not how a promise works. I promise something.
The promise came before the law.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. Even though it was the law. Well, the law was oral, and that's what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob kept.
Right.
It was oral before it was written down. When it was established, the promises were established before the law was written down. That's what I mean. Do you have a picture of?
I do have the amendments.
Yeah, I don't have the picture, but I think I have to actually get the video.
Yeah, and if nobody did the screenshot and it put the full, it only showed the partial face. Well, you can show the partial face, the partial of the picture.
Go on.
But you have it readily. We'll come back to it.
I got the 5 pillars.
5 pillars of the First Amendment.
Yeah, the 5 pillars of the First Amendment is religion,
protest.
speech, press, assembly, and petition.
Yeah, so we're following the law.
I don't even want to break down each one, but that's.
Yeah, we're not petitioning the government. We're not. We'll do that when we get arrested. I guess. Yeah, if we get arrested, then we'll say, well, we're Bible. We're men of letters. We're not rioters or protesters.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. That's the thing is, you got to understand the way society is going with the whole hate speech, right? So there's a fine line between hate speech being a direct, even if it was hate speech, there's a fine line of hate speech being a direct opposition of your right of freedom of speech. But they try to blur the lines and basically say, well, you guys are preaching hate speech, which is against the laws, and you can't speak hate speech, and that's how they'll lock you up.
Simply saying that we are the true biblical Israelites.
That's not hate speech.
And the little hat people.
Yep. But they'll try to say that anytime. No matter what you say about the little hat people, it immediately is considered hate speech. Immediately.
Anti stuff.
Yeah, anti stuff, which is crazy because that's again. It doesn't matter if I say what you are or what you're not. It's not hate speech. But then they'll put that the alphabet people as well. Like if you don't call an alphabet person by the right.
Yeah, if you don't date one, that means you're a phobic.
You're phobic, or you. Yep. And that's also that's considered hate speech, or that's considered other forms of you know.
I guess misogyny too.
Yeah. But what we do here is realistically we have the right, we have the so-called God-given right to do what we're out here to do.
Yeah,
Now there is certain things that, you know, if we were preaching in front of a building that was on private property, then they could say, well, this is private property, you don't have the right to be here, and then we could,
on their property.
Exactly, on the property, because that's why I said in the front of private property, because a lot of times the fronting of a building, the sidewalk itself is considered public. But if we were on private property in front of a private building, then yes, you could remove us essentially from that spot because it's private.
Like you have a bank right there, we can go in front of the bank.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can't reach on the steps though.
Yep.
So.
Right. So what were there's, but like I said, like and then the same thing with like YouTube, and that's where you have like this monopoly being a problem. Is like when you have things like YouTube that kind of like everybody goes to, they can have community guidelines that you have to abide by because it's a private company. They can just kick you off. It doesn't matter whether or not the free speech is not. It's the same thing. This is like a low level example, but like the same thing with when you go to a casino and if you're counting cards, it's not illegal to count cards. They ain't gonna, the movie show you them beating your ass. They ain't gonna. They just as a private entity, they had the right to refuse you to play blackjack. They have the right to do it. And it has nothing to do with race, religion, or sex, or like that. They just have the right to refuse you service, and they'll say, oh, you can play the slots or like that. You can't play blackjack. It's just what it is.
Or they can remove you from the.
Right, exactly. And they had the right because it's a private, They had, and a lot of these places had the right to refuse sales to you.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah.
You can walk into a Walmart and record, but if they tell you to stop recording in Walmart, you got to stop recording. Yeah. Even if the policy isn't visible. So if you keep recording, then no problem. They can have you removed.
Which you have like a lot of those auditors. The auditors will go into a public building and record. And they'll be like, you can't record here. But that's the thing, it's a public building. You can record. Yeah. There's nothing against not recording in a public building.
Yeah, public.
It's right here, right?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's the picture. Yeah. I believe that was a trash man. I believe it was. But yeah, they show you. I think if you watch the actual episode, they'll actually show you more of them. But basically, they take their identity from it. So you can read into that. You can get some say beneath the surface information on that. They took that identity from the migrants and made them basically mindless automatons, mindless workers in the episode of California Reich. All right. So, hey, that may be a play there.
Yep.
Because if they might say citizenship, well, basically, you a slave pretty much if you take the implant, because it tells you in the prophecy, the revelation of Yahweh Shai, John wrote that if you don't kiss the hand, bow down and worship the image of the beast, meaning you take the implant, follow the rules, the microchip, that you're going to be killed if you don't do it. So it says worship means to kiss the hand, meaning you're going to follow along whatever the government says. So not just about taking the implant, it's about conforming with the government rules. You can't take the remember, that's going to be a totalitarian system. It's not going to just be the implant chip and it's going to be business as usual. Yep. There's going to be a lot of things going on. There's going to be having insurrections, bombings, T attacks, all that during the time of the forced implementation, because it's an illusion of choice. If you don't take it, you're going to be put to death. You're going to be put into an internment camp because you could be a T word. You could be a risk, a menace.
Exactly.
Illusion of choice. Well, you got to take it, or else you're going to get thrown in jail.
Yep. And it's crazy because like we always use the vid and the 2020 pandemic that happened, right? We know that like that same attitude that people had, that you didn't care about other people's health if you didn't do things like had the mask on and had the double X shots. If you didn't have that, then you didn't care about your family, your loved ones, stuff like that. And that's what it was all about. It was all about the protection of other people. So if you didn't do these things that the government made mandatory, basically, then you wouldn't care about your family. You didn't care about the person next to you. It wasn't about you. It was about the how you care about the other people. And that's exactly how it's going to be when that CHIP gets implemented. If you ain't with the program, then you must be not caring about other people's security. Because what do you have to hide? If you don't take this thing, like, what do you have that you must be a theist. Yeah. You know? Because this is for everyone's benefit. This is, and then they'll try to make it seem like, you're stuck in the past. Like, come on, you got to get with the times. It's futuristic. Everything's, everything's all about future.
Don't do
future
research.
Is now, right?
Don't do research. That's what they were saying.
Yeah. Yep.
When that thing 2021, 2020, I did a video on that. I read an article, and I think I played the video too.
Yep.
So don't do research when it comes to infectious, so-called infectious Ds.
Yep. And then and on top of it, then any little bit of thing that you did say about that or information you got, what was that considered?
Medical misinformation.
Medical misinformation. Immediately, anything that was an opposition was immediately medical misinformation.
Well, because we were on a private company's servers.
Yep.
They had the right to regulate what's on their platform.
Exactly. Yep.
So, I could go out in the street and say it. Yep. And if somebody would personally sue me, then they had to personally sue me. Yep. But they can't make me shut up.
But and that's what you understand. You understand you do understand the monopoly that the government itself has on everything. Because you can then create your own website, but that website then is what? It's owned by the internet provider. The internet provider doesn't have to air your website. It's the same. It's the same thing.
You can pretty much get away with most stuff doing that.
Right. Yeah. If you had your own website, you could. But if you had your own website that allowed certain things, they had the right to yeah. That's why a lot of these providers, that when they get big, like even you have like Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, right? All these programs, right? Like at a certain level, like if it gets too crazy and they're putting too much illegal stuff on, they'll come in and be like, yo, you gotta shut that shit down.
So that's how Rumble. You can still do stuff on Rumble though, like they got the.
But there might not be as much traction. Like,
but you get less advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. See, if they were more like YouTube,
exactly,
they would get more advertising money.
But then the thing you also have, right? So like. That's why there's the dark web. The things that Google show you. Remember, Google and Bing and Yahoo search. It's all just search engines, right? They search the so-called interweb, but they had the right to find what they want to find and put up what they want to put up.
Yeah, all of this, but it's not organic. It's bias. Search ranking and all that. That's all bias.
Exactly. Yep.
Even though they say they're not, but they're lying.
Right.
Oh, my YouTube channel is being suppressed. Yeah. Well, you're not making good content. Yeah, that's probably true. That is probably true. But they still have, subroutines. I mentioned that a couple of months ago. They have subroutines built in.
Yeah. How many times you brothers looking for a certain channel or certain video type, and you literally type in GMS something, and it shows you everything. Something shows you nothing even close. Right. You're more close with what you said.
But it's
to hit the title. Yeah, it's showing you a whole bunch of other stuff that's not even close to what you typed in. You have to be so specific on what you have to say word for word, bar for bar, just to get the. And it's still not going to give you the exact website.
Exactly, what's popular, what they think you might want. They put that before what you asked for. So why are they putting that before what's popular, what's trending, what you searched for last week? And some of the stuff around what you're saying, but not exactly what you're saying.
There's 100% of bias here.
So it is something that they program in there to put your search all the way to the back where you never even be able to click on. It's probably all the way back there on number 94, what you asked for. But they put the trending up front, even though the trending is not according to what I typed in.
Yeah, but if we say this, we're just conspiracy theorists. We don't know. We're just a victim of the circumstance. It's not how it actually is. It's all
that's partial. I think that's 50% true.
That's what they think.
But the other 50% is that them controlling the shit.
They controlling the shit. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't make good enough content. Yeah, sure. But you ain't gonna convince me that you ain't suppressing certain channels.
Yep.
Definitely suppressing.
Yep. And not even only suppressing certain channels, but also uplifting certain channels, right?
Both sides.
If there's certain things that like as you understand,
they have their favorites.
Every company has certain fundings that they get to do certain things. You also understand, why would every single company all of a sudden just pull out the DEI? It just seems like every company just was like, you know what, we ain't doing this. There was actually another company, I won't go too deep into it, it was a game, and they normally every year do something for this fucking the June, colored people like that, the alphabet people.
Well, it's supposed to be minorities, women, and women. So it's not just.
Well, the Pride Month, they're really heavy on the Pride Month.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of the companies really kind of stepped away from the Pride Month. DEI, yes, is that, but I'm talking about the Pride Month, right? Okay. So this one company specifically was going to do a Pride event, and then apparently they said that they actually withdrew it and told the people that just don't even do it. Like they basically said we don't have the staffing for it, and they're like, listen, we'll do it off the clock or like that, and basically still do it anyways. And they were still like basically telling them no, they can't do it. But it's funny how like all of a sudden all companies across the board just stopped doing it, right? So like you understand like that's also probably trying to invoke some sort of riots or whatever the case is. But it's just
What's not doing a parade for them or
no. Like, the company was going to do an event like in game. It was like in game so-called pride event or like that. But they told them they're not going to do it, right? But like you have a lot of companies.
But it's June, right? It's the Pride Month. Right?
Yeah. But then you have the DEI part. A lot of the companies pull from the DEI, right? You know,
yeah, it's Trump. So
Trump
birthday, the anniversary of the Army.
Then you have the King's Day, which is the main right.
All in June.
Which is funny because the protests that are going on. They said there's over like 2,000 protests, across around the world. Yeah, Delaware, Philly, all that, right? Against King's Day, but it's funny because it's supposed to be supposed to commemorate the fact that we don't own kings or we don't have kings. We shouldn't have that. Yeah. But the thing is, like, everyone's basically making it about Donald Trump any damn way. They're basically protesting Donald Trump on this day.
Yep.
Which is so funny that it's actually ended up being his fucking
He should have said,
birthday.
"I'm not a king. I'm an emperor."
Yep.
Yeah.
Emperor Nero.
Yep. But anyways, I got off topic a little bit there, but the point is everything's interconnected. There's a huge monopoly owned on all this stuff. It's not just conspiracy. It's it is what it is. They all are getting funding from a certain level up, or high up, to push certain narratives. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. So it could be a to create provocation.
Yep.
Like how it is the 1949ers said that Hezbollah struck them. They didn't even know it was happening. It was totally blindsided, and they had no idea. So the most advanced Mossad government, what you call it, special forces or Secret Service equivalent, or CIA equivalent, they didn't know that what was it when what's the date they got attacked by the Hezbollah? Whatever date that was. I'm about to say January 6th, but that was a Trump thing, right? October 6th, October 7th, October 7th. They had no idea it was going to happen, and they let it happen. It was so they could.
Hezbollah in Israel began on October 8th,
October
2023.
Yeah.
Hezbollah launched rockets and artillery at Israelis' positions following Hamas' October 7th attacks on Israel.
Okay, so October 7th. They had no idea about October 7th. Mossad, they did the most advanced, resourceful, secret agents in the world apparently didn't know it was all of a sudden. They didn't know it was going to happen. I believe they did. They let it happen so they could start massacring the people there. All right. Oh, you got something to read?
Khan, so I have a summary, better summary of a California Greek.
What?
Reich or?
Right. I said
Yeah,
right.
right.
I think it's right.
Yeah, Khan.
Chat. Tell it back to you.
Yeah, which, I got the definition means, I guess, goes back to German, meaning empire. Yeah. It says the sliders arrive in a dystopian version of California where Governor Schick enforces a racist regime under Proposition 286. The racial...
Yeah, Prop 286. Oh, yeah.
Kind of says that the Racial Repatriation Act, it says non-white
Big,
individuals...
beautiful bill, maybe, or something else? Go ahead.
Kind of says non-white individuals are captured, either deported or turned into mute, mindless laborers called eddies.
Yeah, mute, mindless laborers. Eddies. There we go.
Kind of says Rembrandt is captured by the Stompers, AFA, America for Americans, and taken to an internment camp.
Yep, America for. So that phrase goes back a long time. It probably didn't show up in the 90s, probably was before that. America for Americans are free. Probably 70s or 60s, maybe something like that. But America for Americans. And you hear people saying that today. America for Americans. Get rid of the freeloaders. Get rid of them all. That's what they say. What?
Khan says he meets Harold, an older black man who has accepted his fate, but Rembrandt refuses to comply.
Yeah, so you basically got the house inward that just, he been beaten down so much, man. Like, look, this situation we in. But Rembrandt is younger, more full of life. He ain't been broken yet. That goes back to the plantation too, buck breaking and all that. The old head, he was like, man, look, man, this situation we in, we can't do nothing about it. Then you got the younger strapper, like, man, look, we can rebel, we can get out of this camp. They basically were in concentration camps. Go ahead.
It says, meanwhile, Quinn, Maggie, and Colin track Rembrandt with help from Vanessa and her son Kirk, who was initially part of the Stompers. It says they discovered that Vanessa and Kirk are not racially pure, making them targets. The Sliders break into the camp, revealing the horrifying truth. Eddies are mutilated, humans stripped of identity. Hero sacrifices himself to help them escape. It says at the Ashik rally, Rembrandt exposes the atrocities on live TV, sparking outrage.
Oh yes, nobody knew about that they were being. They thought they were just robots, but they were actually migrants and aliens, illegal aliens, or not even maybe illegal aliens. I think they might have been. Yeah, I don't know if it was just migrants or if you weren't just so-called white person. Yeah. Yeah, what you read was if they weren't so-called white. So maybe it was just that, or yeah. Cause I don't think any Edomites were in the camps. But you can watch the episode and see if any Edomites were in the camps.
Yeah,
it said so-called white. That's what you read.
Yeah, said non-white individuals are captured.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I believe if you watch the episode, I believe they're all basically like black and like Mexican, something like that, Native American. So I gotta watch the episode again. When they show the camp, when he's in the camp. So,
Gone. It says, yeah. So the group slides to predominantly black world, or it says the group slides to a predominantly black world, leaving Kirk and Vanessa to start anew. So it says key themes and notes: racism and oppression. It says a dark parallel to Nazi Germany and historical racial segregation. It says resistance versus compliance. Harold represents resignation, while Rembrandt fights back. It says twist. The Eddies reveal, or yes, says that the Eddies reveal adds body horror to the fascist regime.
Yeah, reprogramming. So basically, they were reprogrammed. That's what they want to do. They want to reprogram you to conform to the system. All right, until you're taking that chip. Well, get Revelation 13, 15. That's the reprogramming. You gotta conform.
Gone. So it says final thought is a socially charged episode with strong commentary on racism. Though some execution flaws hold it back from greatness. That's it.
Yep. The precept.
Yep. So this Revelation 13 and 15. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Yeah, so whatever the beast says, it's America, different European powers, you have to conform whatever the government says. And the penalty is death. So some event's going to happen. It could be very soon. It could be in a couple of months. It could be a couple of years, but we'll wait. Either way, we're prepared spiritually. Even if we're not physically prepared, we can't be physically prepared anyway. It's going to happen at a preemptive strike, just like the Israelis did on Iran. They just F-35. I believe they use F-35 jets, and those are American. I heard somebody say that. You got to fact check that though. And they hit certain nuclear sites in Iran that I guess supported the production of whatever nuclear capability they have or about to have. All right, go ahead.
Revelation 13 and 16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. 15 kind. Verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Yeah, so put George W. Bush, Mano Cornorta, or hand horn, and get images. You get images of him doing that. Sparrow, think he damn. What you call it? You call them birds that flap their wings at 70 wings, 70 sounds a second.
Hummingbird.
Hummingbird. Yeah.
Oh,
Sparrow
yeah.
was actually. I thought it was a hummingbird. So it was kind of levitating. It's a sparrow. So the worship. Look up worship. Worship in the 15th verse, I believe it was. You got something you want to read? George W. Bush. Here we go. Or the senior book.
That's senior.
That's senior. Well, that's right.
Oh yeah.
But there you go. When you would see him do it, he would say, somebody would question him about it. And he was a Yale alumni, and he was a part of the Skull and Bones fraternity in Yale.
Oh yeah.
And he said he's shouting out the Texas Longhorn. Or he's supporting the Texas Longhorns. So show me some pictures of worship definition.
Oh yeah.
You have it?
Yeah, kind, yeah. So that word for worship in the Greek, proskuneo, and it says to kiss the hand towards one in token of reverence. Among the Orientals, especially Persians, to fall upon the knees and touch the ground with the forehead as an expression of profound reverence. In the New Testament, by kneeling or prostration, to do homage to one or make obeisance, whether in order to express respect or to make supplication. Use of homage shown to men and beings of superior rank.
Yeah, so obedience. You follow what the government says when it comes to that implant chip. All right, whatever curfew they impose or whatever drugs you got to take, you got to do it. It's going to come a point when the world's governments, they're going to become very draconian. All right? So if you don't take the implant chip, you're going to be put to death. That's what the prophecy says. So if I simply refuse to take your chip, the penalty for that is death. That's draconian. I didn't do any violence against anybody. I didn't rob or steal, burglarize, as I say. I didn't burglarize someone's home. I didn't. Get away from me. Protecting his owner. Walked a little too close.
Twins.
Yeah. So that's draconian. That's going to be the thing that's going to cause the believers to get either put to death, detained, or saved out of those situations. You know, Esau is not going to be able to kill every elect man, woman, and child. So only a certain number that's set up to be martyred. All right. That was it on the definition. What you have?
Yeah, Khan. So it says Israeli Air Force operations. It says so the F-35.
So it was F-35.
Yeah.
But those are American.
Khan. It says the F-35 Adir stealth jets. So it says
Stealth.
Khan.
Yeah.
It says led large strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, Natanz and Isfahan, and military sites, including Tehran's Mirabad airport. It says Israel claims to have achieved aerial superiority over Tehran with 70 plus jets involved in the operation. It says Iranian air defenses reportedly down 3 F-35s, though Israel denies these losses. Iran published photos of alleged wreckage.
Yeah, there you go. I heard they did down. And they could have been Americans in there for all we know, flying that. Zionist Americans, for all we know. You know, if they get their body intact, you know, I guess you can't really tell because they both look like Edomites. So whether Israeli or was it American in that F-35, because you got to train them on F-35s, and America has a very close ties with the only democracy in the Middle East, by the way. So they get the training they need. So, but hey, it could have been Americans in there. Who knows?
Yeah. It says U.S. involvement. The U.S. assisted Israel in intercepting Iranian missiles, but denied direct participation in offensive strikes.
Yeah. Wars, rumors of wars, commotions. All right, they're
You know, it's crazy because a lot of these commotions also, correlate to protests. These protests that are supposed to be peaceful protests, they ain't even peaceful no more. A lot of these commotions and protests are immediately turned violent. Where people are fucking tearing up the city, tearing up people's businesses and stuff like that. So you're going to see more and more of that, where these commotions are going to be becoming deadly, okay? Where people are just going to be out here just dying because of the commotions.
They definitely gonna have, well, there are different elements among protests. You have a criminal element, and you have the actual protesters. But yeah, I can see them being protests against the implant chip and people being detained and murdered, and all that, in the street, because the penalty for not taking the implant is going to be death.
Right.
So definitely going to be especially the Christians. All right, they're going to have opposition to getting that implant, or you'll be cut off from the financial system, and then eventually you're going to come with the trucks and vans to come get you,
right,
and put you in an internment camp. So that day is going to come. We actually believe that. It's in the scriptures. That day is going to come. You have something else you want to share?
Yeah, so it says. So I pretty much asked further down F-35 American pilots. It says, no, the down F-35 as claimed by Iran were Israeli pilots, not American. It says, here's what we know based on the latest reports. It says, Iran claims capture of Israeli F-35 pilots. Iran alleges it shot down 3 Israeli F-35 Adir stealth jets and captured 2 pilots, including a female pilot. It says 1 pilot was reportedly killed, while the others were taken into custody. So yeah.
Somebody lying. All right. So they say they don't. Of course, the Israeli government is not going to tell you how much they got damaged. They'll turn your cameras away. They don't. The only democracy in the Middle East, they're not really transparent about internal affairs. Because I believe the UN is going to condemn their actions. So it was violating international law, but the Israelis don't follow international law. So they have free reign to do what they want.
Apparently that's one of the images.
Get us some video. For people to believe y'all, get the video. Oh, AI made it. Wow. AI can do, that's a powerful machine. They got advanced models of that stuff. So.
Yeah, they're already doing news anchors.
Yeah, and they training the Palantir platform. And they're going to receive input from the media and from YouTube. So they'll train their software to try to predict your behavior. Yeah, so they're going to train their software on images, voices, behavior patterns. They're going to put that in a database and sort it by AI. So they're going to identify you and categorize you with their software. Palantir doesn't have to have the input. All they got to do is process the data. So you're not righteous because, I just provide the platform. No, your platform processes the information. So yeah, massive database input from YouTube, basically an intelligent cross-referencing machine. So this person was here on this day, identified. This is what he said. This is his bodily movements. Oh, he popped up 2 months ago doing this, coming out of a grocery store, smoking a cigarette. So now he smokes cigarettes. He goes to riots, and he likes Chinese food. Saturdays and Tuesdays. That's what the platform can do, and they do that through AI. And the input is based upon whatever they input, whatever is submitted. YouTube, Rumble, X, formerly Twitter, news from Fox, MSNBC. Those are the inputs. Surveillance cameras. Remember, massive database. They have super compressed storage devices and stuff that is classified that we don't even know about. I can get terabytes of data and process them very quickly and put you in categories. All right, and it can get input from various cameras around your city or state, and they can build a database upon and form habit behavior patterns on you. All right, the history of you. That was an episode on Black Mirror, I think. History of you. Got a camera in his eye or something like that. History of you. Get the synopsis on that. It's just predictive programming. You got something you want to share or something? What are you doing with your?
Oh yeah, I got a video that shows it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, this ain't nothing new. The F-35 being down.
Yeah. Explosion.
All right, put on show the camera. It's muted. Put the volume down.
It's a history of you.
Yeah, leave on Black Mirror history of you.
The Black Mirror episode. Yeah. Which episode are you talking about? The one with the
recording in his eye. Yeah, it recorded everything.
Yeah. And they had to play it back when they go on the.
Yeah, that's it. You get this. You get a brief synopsis.
History of you. Yeah.
It's called. Yeah, so everything's being recorded. All right. So get a synopsis on the history of you. Get a nice detailed one like you did last time.
That's funny in the near future. History of You is a Black Mirror season 1, episode 3. I do encourage every brother to watch at least episode 3, season 1. All Black Mirror is pretty good, but this one in particular. It says, in the near future, people shall never forget a face again, as everyone has access
Palantir,
to a...
if I'm saying it right. Palantir. What?
It says, in the near future, people shall never forget a face again, as everyone has access to a memory implant that records everything they do, see, and hear. And it's funny. Here, I'll show you a little. This is let's see if I can just zoom this in here so you all can see what. Because he was able to like access a off a reel of the things that he's seen. Now when he was about to travel, can you get that on the camera, brother? Is that showing up?
Yep, it's there.
Yeah. So when he was about to fly, they basically said we want to see, the last 24 hours. So they were basically verifying that he wasn't up to nothing nefarious. So they were able to show all the recordings of the last 24 hours and seeing it was just like a quick.
Drunk.
It was a quick thing to go through to see, if it was safe for travels. And once he was cleared, they let him go and stuff. And then I guess he ended up finding out that his wife was cheating on him like that through all that stuff. But besides the point, but
Right. Yeah. So the underlying the esoteric, I'm saying it right, meaning behind it is everything's being recorded.
Yep.
And that's what the Palantir is about. And whatever company. And I believe I saw an interview with him and he was like, the software is not that good. Dude, that's not the fucking point. The point is what it does.
Yep.
Then you can always update the software.
Yep.
We don't provide any of the input or something like whatever you were saying. That's still irrelevant.
Yep.
But the point is what the software, Palantir software does. It builds behavior patterns. You can get a synopsis on what the software does, Palantir. Behavior patterns on individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if you don't have contractors going out there and get it. Whatever the government gives you, or third parties give you, well, the government's going to give them the input because they did contracted with the government, right? So the government can give them the input, give them YouTube videos, Rumble videos, Twitter, formerly X, formerly Twitter videos, surveillance cameras, and AI, advanced government AI that they built for governments. Can find out where you've been the last 8 days. They can find out you did the ATM here. That's a condition upon the input, right? The bank would have to give the input to the software company, Palantir. You were at the beach 3 days prior. in Ocean City, but that can only be processed through AI. You can't manually do that. So that's what the software is for. Now again, any company can build the software and process the data, but they chose to use Palantir. So there has to be he has to be linked to the elite somehow. I believe what the Peter Thiel AI, it'll tell you, it'll immediately tell you too. They won't even hide it. CIA, Palantir. When you ask it, it'll tell you. I looked it up before. So what you guys?
Yeah. It says, Palantir, a prominent data analytics and surveillance company known for its work with government with government agencies and private organizations. It says, here's what Palantir does. So number one, it says core business, AI-powered data and analysis and surveillance. Palantir develops AI-driven software platforms like Gotham and Foundry that aggregate, analyze, and interpret
pull together.
vast amounts of data for decision making. It says it is widely used for national security, law enforcement, and military operations, e.g. by the CIA, FBI, and Pentagon.
Right.
It says it helps track everything from T networks and financial fraud and cyber threats. It also says government and military use cases, surveillance and intelligence used by agencies like the NSA for mass data collection and predictive policing.
Yeah, but Eric Snowden, he defected to Russia because he was snitching on how Americans was being spied on. He worked for the NSA, and he defected to Russia. He said, "Well, I got to tell the American people about what's going on. That program was being used, or whatever program they want. They can give us whatever name they want. We know the data is being collected and analyzed through AI. All right." He defected to Russia. Then he told us, like, "Look, we're being spied on. The data that they're collecting at the National Security Agency is on Americans also, not just foreign T-words and groups. They're collecting data on Americans, which that's a violation of our Fourth Amendment. But that shit don't really exist. That's only front facing. We got those rights. Behind the scenes, man, they doing all sorts of violations.
And some of it's not even a violation because you don't realize a lot of people don't read the fine. They don't read the fine print. Like when you like we already talked about these being private owned things like in the user agreement that you sign off when you create an account.
Well, the government collecting that.
Yeah.
Right? We give it away, but the government is illegal to collect that data that we already gave out for free on Americans. That would be a Fourth Amendment violation.
Right. But your fucking information gets sold all the damn time.
Yeah.
Especially like say when you sign up for certain things,
Yeah, and a user agreement. Yeah.
Yep.
And user agreement.
Yeah.
That's why everything's free. Google.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're the product.
Yep.
Or you're the cost, or however they say it. If it's free, then that means you're the product. Oh, you have something you want to read or?
Yeah,
Palantir, who link to the CIA? They'll tell you immediately.
So
Peter Thiel, founder of PayPal. So what is Palantir? Just write that in there. Give you who runs it, where did it come from, and all that. It'll tell you that the CIA front. Immediately it'll tell you, which is weird. Like what the hell? So it's basically public knowledge that they worked at Palantir for the CIA. The CIA backed.
You got a precept.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Ezekiel 28:3. It says, "Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There was no secret that they can hide from thee."
Yeah, now that we understanding the technology more, AI, that's a prominent element of the wisdom of Esau Edom.
Yeah.
The AI, artificial intelligence.
I got something.
Yeah.
It says so.
Who founded Palantir?
So it says, where did Palantir come from? Origins 2003, 2004. It says founded in 2003 by Peter Thiel, PayPal co-founder, early
So-called
Facebook.
Jay. I believe he is. Yep.
It says early Facebook investor, Alex Karp, CEO, and others. So it says initially funded by the CIA's venture capital arm in Q. It says NQTEL
In QTEL.
to help U.S. intelligence agencies analyze vast amounts of data. It says name inspiration named after Palantiri, all-seeing stones from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it says from Lord of the Rings, symbolizing surveillance and foresight.
Yeah, all seeing eye. And then you get the dollar bill. Get the dollar bill. Get a picture of the dollar bill with the the pyramid, and the capstone on top, and the eye of Horus, or some say it's anus of a child, sexual magic. That's what they use to get their power from Satan. Right? That's why they're in power, because of witchcraft. Well, Isaiah 47 and one of Nahum, right? Standing there with thine enchantments. So they're telling you, and then they act stupid. You know, they get online and say, like George Bush, he used to act stupid. You know, it's a game they're playing. Like George Bush used to act stupid. He's playing a character. They do a little shoulder thing, like, a little thing, and take, you know, they're playing roles. Then the Palantir guy got on the news and basically said he's basically an idiot. You know, and our software is not that great. You know, he sounds like he's a really good guy and all that shit. No nefarious use. Go ahead.
That article, man, about the government, U.S. government and data.
Yeah, go ahead, finish it.
Yeah, kind of. So.
Yeah, all saying, I put it on the camera. Yeah. Inuit Coeptus. It's announcing the birth. All right, that correlates to what you just read, right? Announcing the birth of the new order of the age. Inuit Coeptus.
Yeah, kind of.
Novus Ordos of Clorum. New order of the age. Announcing the birth, or he favors his undertaking. One of those.
Yeah, all seeing stones from Lord of the Rings.
Right. So that's the all-seeing eye on top of the pyramid. But it has to be completed. That's why it's separated. So when it completes, that's when you establish the order, the new world order, and it's going to come down. The capstone is going to come down and complete the rest of the pyramid. All right. It says 1776. They say the founding of America and all that, but it was really the birth of the enlightened ones. May 1st or June, whatever the date was. Adam Weishaupt and all that. All right, was that it?
It's a little bit more, but yeah, that's pretty much it though.
Yeah, go, you can read it.
Yeah, Khan. It says early government work 2004 through 2010s. It says help the U.S. military track insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan by analyzing roadside bomb patterns. It says used by the NSA, FBI, and CIA for counter T, e.g. locating Osama bin Laden's career. It says expanded to immigration enforcement, ICE, police departments, and financial regulators. And so I guess here's some of the.
That could have been AI when Osama bin Laden took credit for I believe he took credit for the attacks. I believe that was a false flag though, but that could have been AI back then in 2001 September. They had a model of him up there talking behind the screen, you know.
Well, it's funny because that picture that was used to show that I think they showed the picture. I saw it. If you look at the main, it was the picture that was circulating when they said they got Saddam Hussein.
Oh, it looked doctor. It looked doctor. Yeah.
But it literally, I gotta pull it up.
That picture.
But yeah, all the newscasts were using it. And they literally said that a lot of news people had to come out and apologize. That they said that was literally a photoshopped image. It wasn't even actually. I believe it was either Osama bin Laden or Saddam Hussein they were trying to say, because I believe when they killed Osama bin Laden, they said that they killed him and then they dumped his body in the ocean or something like that. Wasn't that? Yeah. There was no actually record of his dead body apparently, from what they said.
Yeah, and then SEAL Team 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the 666. SEAL Team 6. That's a coincidence, right? And one of them was doing interviews, YouTube podcast interviews. I believe Joe Budden podcast interviewed him. Look that up. Look, Joe Budden podcast, SEAL Team 6. I think he's the only black dude I think that got an interview. That might be saying something. He quit being a rapper and became a podcaster. I think he was like the first podcaster, Joe Buttons, before when it was a podcast.
Who was it? What's that song?
I think he was technically one of, if not the first. You fact check that. Uploading YouTube and all that. When he said he wasn't being rapping no more. Early 2000s.
Yeah, Osama bin Laden's body was buried at sea after his death.
Joe Button podcast 6, SEAL Team 6 interview.
The body was placed in a weighted bag and then slid off the board into the sea from a deck of the USS Carl Vinson.
Slid off the deck. Get the fuck out of here. They're probably gonna use his body for some witchcraft or some shit. Slid into the ocean.
Now they're trying to say that they did it because of Muslim burial customs.
Go into the ocean?
The burial followed traditional Muslim burial customs, including washing and shrouding the body in a white sheet.
So that's what they did?
That's apparently what they did here.
They're not directly saying that, but... Okay. You found it or no? On YouTube?
I'm trying to find like the exact guy.
For SEAL Team 6 interviews. I thought I remember.
You said from Joe Rogan?
Joe Button.
Oh, Joe Button.
Not Joe Rogan. I don't think he is. Joe Buttons. Get some precepts in the meantime. Let the brother look for it. So when you look at the escalation of the different wars, and what they're saying is that Iran hit the so-called J's harder than they never experienced a hit like this. They said something about they made October 7th look like it was fireworks that was that the Hezbollah used. So these missiles that they were using are actually doing a lot heavier damage. So either they're going to hide the damage they actually did, or just, or they might show it. They might show the actual damage. There are pictures circulating. I think they might have took one down. I was looking for one earlier, then it disappeared. So. Oh, did you interview come up or?
Con, so it says interview with the man who killed bin Laden. So, Rob O'Neill. So,
okay. All right, that's all. I just wanted to make sure that it actually existed. So, that's the dude that allegedly killed Osama bin Laden. He was sitting in a pissy ass bed with a TV from like the 40s or the 60s, sitting down, and he snuck into his little apartment and shot him. And I believe that was a total psyop, but somebody snitched on him. Mm-hmm. If that event ever happened, because they were saying that he had this disease, was something with his pituitary gland that made him get real tall, and he was dying from that. That's the other theory about that. He was dying anyway, and he probably was already dead before this alleged SEAL Team 6 allegedly killed bin Laden. That's the other theory, the other side. He was dying anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
From that gargantuous disease or something like that. He was like, how tall was? You see how tall he was? He was like super. He's on like 7 foot or something like that. He's 6'5".
Yeah.
6'5".
Yeah. That's the thing too. If natural causes or disease would have killed him, it would have made for a better America winning story. You know what I mean? America has to take this Major T down. Who's doing all this evil.
His family was he came from a rich family.
Yep.
But Osama bin Laden his family's still rich. They still, whatever how much money they got, they're a rich family. So there's other events that are beyond what the mainstream media allows us to digest.
I'll bring this article out real quick.
Yeah,
it's off of NBC News. This article was written June 13th, 2023. This is kind of compass of what the CIA is actually legally allowed to do, right? So this U.S. government buys data on Americans with little oversight, report finds. It says the report published by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence offers fresh insight into how U.S. intelligence agencies have capitalized on the widespread availability of for-purchase data about Americans. So I'm gonna skip down to this little excerpt here.
Is buying data on American citizens. If the government buys data on American citizens, is that a violation of the Fourth Amendment?
It says government agencies have to navigate an array of laws that often prevent them from tracking Americans without a court order or warrant. But there are few legal restrictions on private companies that buy, repackage, and sell personal data, which the report calls commercially available information, or CAI. And commercially available information, whether you want to believe it or not, or whether you want to believe it or not, like you often, without realizing, are just making your information available. When you sign on certain apps, certain programs, certain websites, you make commercially available information that then these third-party companies can package up, set, and then sell, and essentially without any illegality, the government can buy. Because if you post on Instagram that you're about to do X amount of thing, the police, the government, they can act on that, because what you're doing is they don't have to have a warrant based upon accessing your publicly displayed information, right? If I was about to go on Instagram Live and do some crazy stuff, or anybody who does, they can act on it. Yeah, they can exactly. They can
start Facebook.
Yep.
CIA or whatever.
Right, because all that stuff that you're putting up is public. It's not necessarily private. Now, if I put something in a notepad privately on my computer,
That's a spy.
Yeah, that would be a little bit different. But now, if I don't realize it and I get a certain notepad app that says, hey, listen, we have the right to sell and to distribute your information, and I just go ahead and take that app anyways, and I put all this data in there, and then they can then repackage it and sell it. And the government can legally buy that thing that is supposed to be private.
That's why Trump said, don't wear masks during the protests. I believe the Apostle did a video on that. Yep. Said don't wear a mask because they want your face to get caught so they can start building behavior patterns. And building a model around you and predict your behavior in the future.
That's why when you another thing too, like I forget, maybe one of the apostles brought out like that when there was like a calculator app that needs your freaking access to your camera and access to the speakers. Why does a calculator app need to have all these unnecessary accesses to all this stuff? There's no reason for it.
So you turn it on when you sleep. Get a little nice little picture.
Yeah.
Nice little picture, turn night vision on.
Right. And then you got fucking assholes that are gonna say, well, if you got nothing to hide, what does it matter if they got collection on your data? That's not the point. The point is, there's a reason why the brothers basically getting into it.
Well, everybody got something to hide. Like, what the fuck kind of question is that?
yeah. There's a reason why you have a private life. You have a private life and a personal life. There's a reason why you have things private. But the point is, like, there's certain things that the government is not allowed to do. That's supposed to be our right. But yet now there's these workarounds in which the government can do to pry in your personal life. That's all I wanted to point on that.
So I looked up. So is buying data on the government's part a violation of Americans' Fourth Amendment right? So it says yes, the government buying personal data can violate the Fourth Amendment. It says, but it depends on how courts interpret privacy expectations and existing loopholes. So it says, direct answer, the government does not need a warrant to buy data from brokers under current interpretations of the third-party doctrine, which says you lose privacy protections for data shared with companies. It says, however, recent rulings like Carpenter versus the United States back in 2018 suggest this loophole may be closing, especially for highly sensitive data, e.g. location records.
Location records. Yeah, I can see how it can be an argument, because on one hand, they are buying publicly available information, or it may not even be public, but it's you gave up your Fourth Amendment by volunteering it to the company.
Because it should be illegal. It should be illegal for you to collect my data and then sell it. That should really where it should be illegal. But it's not illegal for for you basically to sign that dotted line and say, yeah, you can have it. Because that's essentially what all the business is about. Like that, you're signing off that agreement. You shouldn't even be able to collect my data and then sell it.
Yep, they got that. Yeah, you sign off on it, like on YouTube and Facebooks, Twitters, and all that. You got
Yep.
they can share your data.
So, Con says key points.
I think WhatsApp's apparently supposed to not supposed to keep a record of your conversations, right? Or does it? Because I think WhatsApp was originally, I believe, privately owned, right? And then Facebook bought it out, didn't it?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, something like that.
I believe WhatsApp was acquired.
I think it's encrypted, but they still like
It's supposed to, because encrypted is supposed to be
Yeah.
right, like basically not able to just like distribute or something, or.
encrypted, but there's like some privacy loopholes that
Right,
they
right.
use. Like
Yeah, you gotta put them in there for
Yeah.
government, for security, national security reasons. Go ahead.
it says key points. Number one, if data is publicly available, sold by brokers, courts often allow warrantless purchases, claiming no Fourth Amendment violation. It says number two, if the data is highly personal, like precise location or health data, some courts may rule that buying it without a warrant is unconstitutional, following Carpenter. It says number three, Congress or the Supreme Court could shut this down by limiting data brokers or expanding digital privacy rights. So it says, bottom line, right now the government exploits a legal gray area, buying data instead of
legal gray area.
it says getting a warrant,
Yep.
which many argue should violate the Fourth Amendment, but often doesn't under the current president.
Yeah, which is funny because there's all kinds of loopholes like that. For instance, right? Here's a loophole that they'll do. If a cop pulls you over, right, and then for whatever reason has a right to like detain you or tell you that you can't get back in your vehicle, right? But the car in which you parked it is not an illegal spot. They can then legally tow your car to the police station, and then they can have a legal search of it, because what they do is they're taking an inventory. But that's literally an illegal search of your vehicle, because they can't just search your vehicle without probable cause or a warrant, right? But the fact that your car is parked, that's why if you ever do get pulled over, you should really pull off into a spot where your car can legally stay overnight, because they have no right to tow your car. Because the company itself would have to then say, the company itself would have to say that the car needs to be towed. They can't just come and tow your car. But that's where you shouldn't. If you pull off to the side of the road like that, they can, like I said, legally tow your car and then legally search it. Which is like realistically a loophole, because you have no warrant to just search my car just because it's parked off to the side of the road. But they're able to do that.
Well, a shoulder is emergencies only.
Right.
So, if you have a flat tire or your car doesn't work, you still have to have probable cause that you committed a crime, whether it be or about to commit a crime.
Right.
But they can just make something up.
Which is what they often do. They often do anyways. Because that's also very vague and very gray. Like they could just, probable cause is very vague and very gray. That's why they're able to get away with it so damn much.
All right, you got more?
That's it.
All right, appreciate you guys. This is wrap up in a few.
I got appreciate.
Telling Jacob's trouble get out 3 and 20 and 2 and 20. Go ahead.
It says Ezekiel 28:1. So the Lord, it says, the word of the Lord Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, and sit in the seat, it says, of the Most High, and it says, lucky, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not the Most High, though thou set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Yeah, and that's the point, so what Esau is using, these again, all this AI, these different technologies, again, to have mass surveillance on the people. Because, ultimately, adding on to the brother's point, not only does he want to have access onto your pretty much your public life, he wants to have access onto your private life, and everything.
Yeah, that's what they're doing with the Palantir.
Yeah.
They're building behavior patterns on you, the history of you. So once they build the history of you, they can see whether you're prone to committing crimes, what your health is going to be, what you eat, like Chinese food, what kind of grocery stores you like going to. You a health guy, or you like always eating fast food. But that's heavily reliant on the input. The Palantir doesn't collect all the data. either way, how would they collect data anyway? They would have to have cameras, people, private companies inputting those cameras, and city and county cameras giving them the data. That's a massive teraquad. Well, however amount of data it is, got to be super compressed.
Petabyte.
Petabyte,
Like exobyte.
That's a lot of data. To build models on just one person. Then there's millions of people in America.
Is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
Yeah, you saw Edom here. Does not have too much longer. The prophecies are coming to a head. The Persians and the Esau, Edom, Gog and Magog, the Russians. They're heating up. They're shooting their fire back and forth at each other. And eventually, the Gog and Magog will come down as a guard to guard the Iran.
Yep. That's why I see things like military technology heavily increasing, the technology of AI and just tech in general. The technology of tech is really advancing, and it's advancing to the demise of the everyday people. And he's really trying to push it as fast as he can because he knows he has a short time. So you're going to really see things speed up because he's seeing that as things get closer and closer to the end, he also understands that if he doesn't play his cards right, well, this is the delusions that the Most High has given him. He feels like if he doesn't do the things that he has to do now, he's gonna miss his opportunity, and basically he's not gonna be able to keep Israel down, because that's ultimately his biggest thing. But that's the pride that was lifted up in him, that he thinks he can actually overcome Israel and the Lord. He thinks that he can actually fight against the Most High. So because of that demise that he has, or that thought that he has, is ultimately going to be to his own demise. Just like the Pharaoh of Egypt, his pride boasted him up, thinking that he would actually be able to fight against the Most High and his children and his people. And then look where it got him and his men, swallowed up in the Red Sea.
Horses and chariots,
Yep.
to the sea.
Exactly. Why would you chase after the Lord's people, knowing that your firstborn and everything just got killed? But that's the same demise. It's the same, the pride. But that's how Esau feels. That's why Esau's pushing all this stuff. He doesn't realize that the more and more that this stuff happens, the more and more hell that comes. When he puts that RFID hip in and goes into that World War III, bro, that's it. That's a wrap. That's the beginning of Jacob's start. The beginning of Esau's, or the end of Esau's world and the beginning of Jacob's.
Yeah, when they get directly involved, that's when we know that the end is
at
the door. Yeah. So the implant's gonna come. In the midst of it, Trump could be the guy. Donald Trump, he could be the. And we're gonna suffer a lot, but
another precept.
We're just vessels fit for the masses' use.
Got another precept.
You want to finish? You got more on that, right?
Oh, yeah, kind of a little more. It says, Ezekiel chapter 28:3, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There's no secret that they can hide from thee. Yeah, and as the scriptures say, what the Lord's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Well, ultimately, Esau wants to be on that level. So, he's using AI. He wants to be able to get closer onto AI and to technology. So, he can have that integration. Because, obviously, he can't connect the people on a spiritual level like the Most High does. So what he wants to do it by carnal means, by getting people locked into the grid.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that grid is locked in. Nothing can go outside that grid. So like the things like books and paper trails and stuff like that, going to the library and finding a book or like that, it's easier to kind of like widen your search. It is kind of what we said earlier, like these corporations and companies, all that. It's locked down. Like there's certain things that you can't go without. So like they ultimately now gatekeep all information coming and going. So like once you rely heavily on AI, and the brother already said it too, like it's got a bias to it. So there's certain things that it will tell you, but to a certain biasing, right? So as more and more, as you become more and more reliant on this, it can then really like cap and lock what information you know.
Yeah, you're gonna be controlled by the grid. I believe there's an Outer Limits episode. I think it's called The Grid, I think. Yeah.
There you go.
The towers were popping up in the neighborhood in the city this guy went back to. And basically like cell phone towers, and it was controlled by AI. Well, he'd find that, did the synopsis on the Outer Limits episode, The Grid, I think it's called. It's called The Grid.
Mind if I read this pretty quick?
Yeah,
Every time. It's 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. When you look up the word perilous in the Greek, kalepos, it's hard to do, hard to bear, troublesome, dangerous, harsh, fierce, and savage. So you understand, in the last days, the dangerous times are coming, man. And who's bringing those dangerous times? How are those dangerous times going to affect your life and your well-being? And what is your defense going to be in those hard times? Those are the questions you got to ask yourself. How are you going to? Who's delivering you from these hard times? You know, what are you doing to make sure you're able to endure these harsh times? Because we know that the scriptures say that the Lord's name is a strong tower, and the righteous run into it and is safe. So if you don't have no safe haven, what are you going to have when these hard times strike? It also talks about how if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and sinner appear?
Did you find the episode or no?
Yes, still trying to get it.
Still searching.
You said you want something like Jacob's. You want time that's never been seen before, Daniel?
No, I wanted
You want specifically Jacob's trouble?
Tom. No, the Hour of Temptation.
Okay.
Revelation 3:20, I believe, or 2:20. Somewhere around there. Hour of temptation which shall come upon all the world.
Yep. That's 3 and 10.
3 and 10.
Yeah. You want to get right to the point? 3 and 10.
You said an episode called The Grid, or a
I think
TV
it's
show?
called the episode called The Grid, Outer Limits.
Okay, got you.
Go up a little bit. Get what church you wrote to.
All right. This is Revelation chapter 3, verse 7. To the angel of the church in Philadelphia, write: These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door.
And that was mercy. All right. So Yahweh Shai has the key of David. So he has the ability to make us go through that door of mercy. Right? David had mercy. He committed adultery and murder. He should have been put to death for that, but he had the key of David. He had. All right? So mercy, we had mercy. So that church, Yahweh Shai is saying that you have mercy, all right? And you're able to understand the truth because I gave you that mercy.
Yep.
That's what?
I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Verse 9, Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee.
All right, so key of David, all right, mercy. And because through that mercy, we're able to get the knowledge of the truth. We understand the scriptures. Unlike some people, they're still stuck on stupid. They're still preaching the plantation Christianity, believing in eternal burning in hell, which is insane.
Yeah, for God's all love and for everybody.
Yeah, that the promises are for everybody. That's crazy. Crazy talk.
Yep.
Do you have something?
Yeah,
you want me to get to the...
Go.
The last verse. Verse 10 says, Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth.
Right, the hour of temptation is when the implant is forced upon the populations. All right, meaning it's a choice, or you go to an internment camp. All right. Go.
It's like I was going with the word for temptation. It's like, all right. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Verse 11, Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Keep going.
That was it.
Yep.
Hour of temptation.
Yep.
All right. no man take that crown. Yeah, so we gotta continue in the things that we learn and don't lose faith. And that's ultimately up to Yahweh, the Father.
And then
he created the blueprint that Yahweh Shai used his power to bring into existence.
Yeah, the word for temptation in the Greek, parasmas, is an experiment, attempt, trial, or proving. It says a trial proving, the trial made of you by my here we go. The definition B, the trial of man's fidelity, integrity, virtue, or consistency. An enticement to sin, temptation, whether arising from a desire or from the outward circumstance. So it's a trial of your your faith or your virtue or your what's that? There's a certain word I'm looking for. Integrity, right? It's a trial of your integrity, right? So if you say that you're really for Yahweh Shema Shai, well, this hour of temptation is really going to test that.
Yep. And we're the test. We're not. The Lord already know. The test is on us. He's carrying out his blueprint. All right. No, did you find the episode?
Yeah, Khan.
It's called The Grid or something else?
Yeah, The Grid.
The Grid.
It says the summary of the Outer Limits episode, The Grid, Season 6, Episode 15. So it says air date July 14, 2000, ran by Duncan Kennedy, directed by Charles Winkler. So it says plot summary. Scott Bowman returns to his hometown. It says Halford, Washington, after receiving a disturbing message from his brother Peter. Upon arrival, he learns Peter is dead and his wife Eileen has been arrested for his murder. The town is eerily different, filled with strange antenna towers, and the residents behave as if under my control. So it says, after Eileen suddenly kills herself in jail, Scott investigates further. It says a young girl later revealed to be manipulated by the system tells him about Project Halford.
She was being controlled by the supercomputer AI. Go ahead.
It says a secret military program involving a neural computer. It says a secret military program involving a neural computer network designed to control human minds. It says Peter has stolen codes to stop it, but was killed. So it says
he gets back to his home. He gets back to where he moved out to, into a hotel room, something like that. And he says, "When did they put those towers up?" And he turned around just a little bit after you left, and the chick, I believe his wife, shoots him, killed him. It ends right there. You got more in there? Or?
Yes, a little more. So it says Scott retrieves Peter's hidden book and a tape exposing the project. With the girl's help, he infiltrates the military base and enters what he believes is a shutdown code. But it actually activates the system nationwide. It says the girl.
Gotcha.
It says the girl was a puppet of the AI all along. It says in a desperate move, Scott shoots the computer and escapes. However, when he returns home, he sees the towers have spread everywhere, including his neighborhood. It says his wife, already under control, shoots him. So it says key themes: technology versus humanity, the dangers of AI and mind control. It says deception and betrayal. The system manipulates Scott into completing its activation. It says hopeless ending. Despite his efforts, the mind control grid spreads nationwide.
All right, so y'all got to watch those shows, and you can actually see that they're putting them in the media. All right, you can find various ways to get those episodes. They're online. They're on either Amazon Prime, Netflix, or Apple TV. You find those episodes on there. So they're telling this predictive programming. This is what they plan on doing. That came out in 2000, year 2000. Warner.
It says closing narration. When the human mind is made obsolete by advancing technology, the soul may not be far behind.
That's what they want to do. They want to kill the soul, kill your mind, and replace it with AI, or reprogram the person to conform to the beast system, be logged on to the system. All right, with the implant, and it ain't gonna be business as usual. A lot of businesses are gonna shut down. A lot of businesses are gonna go under, and a going to be a lot of rebellion against getting that chip, or protest against the implant. It could be unconstitutional, or Fourth Amendment violation. You know, they're going to make you give up your rights. Or else you're going to be put to death. That's the prophecy. If you don't, you're going to go to some type of internment camp or summary execution. Somehow, some ways, the result of not taking that implant is going to be death. All right, some more.
It says this episode is a classic Outer Limits cautionary tale about unchecked technological power.
Unchecked technological power.
And also what the scriptures say in Revelation, how the Lord is going to cast down Esau and as well as his evil angels.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. When he's about to fill his belly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the elders used to told us about in the early days about predictive programming and all that. And then as you start watching stuff, then you start to see shit.
Yep. Especially when you watch old stuff, because the apostles used to say that all the time. You need to get to these older films because these older films, like especially back in the day when you watch these 80s, 90s, right, even 70s, when you watch certain of these films, it was so far fetched. It was like, man, it was literally science fiction. It was fiction, not meaning not real. But now when you watch it today, you can see how real it really is. Like how much it's not fiction, it's non-fiction, because all this stuff is 100% in play right now. The technology back in the that they were using in these movies is the technology they're using today. So it's definitely good to get in these older films, man, because it like the brother saying, it's predictive programming to get you ready to what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, Minority Report.
Yep.
With the pre-crime, Palantir, pre-crime.
Yep. Was it the movie with you have
controlling your brain?
Damn.
Signals.
The dude Terminator. What was that movie? Not the Terminator, but the movie that he's in. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Was it a 90s movie or a newer movie?
I think it was the 90s. Arnold Schwarzenegger was in.
Not Terminator.
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Yeah, Total Recall is a good one.
Total Recall.
Yeah.
Good score, and it's good movie.
Yep.
And they actually showed he had an implant in his brain.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and like I said, like a lot of these movies, sometimes there's not even.
And he erased his memory.
Yeah, some of these movies ain't even really sci-fi. They just show sci-fi elements where they have a chip, or they have certain things that and then I think you also have the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the other guy that played Rocky. What's his name? Sylvester Stallone. Escape from Babylon or like that, or what was that? The jail movie where they're trying to escape the prison. But in the scene when they're going through the jail, they had an RFID. Yeah, it's funny. It was called Babylon. Yeah, the prison was called Babylon. And as they were going through the prison, they had basically a barcode on their back, and that was basically scanning them. Basically showing you the tracking and stuff like that. We know that the RFID hip that has its own scannable technology on it, right? Where it's tracking it's its own identification code attached to that specific code or that specific mark.
Yeah, escape plan.
It's escape plan. Yeah, escape plan. Yeah.
Escape plan.
But like I said, the point is like in a lot of these movies and
Yeah.
shows, they'll have like little excerpts of things.
Yeah.
Shit. Another one, Futurama, right? I think the very first episode of Futurama, when Fry gets. Yeah, they say, come get your implantable microchip or something like that. Leela says it like that, and then he runs off or like that, never to get it or whatever. Maybe,
basically, you assigned it.
Yep.
And I think his was delivery person. He was a delivery person back in the past.
Yeah.
And his chip was going to make him a delivery person in the future.
Yep.
So,
but it's
anything else you want to add? That was it. All right. Hope y'all edified. You got a lot of research to do if y'all didn't check those films and TV shows out. Minority Report, also Minority Report. Another good one. Total Recall, the Grid episode, Outer Limits, History of You on Black Mirror.
Yep.
And a lot more. So hope you edified. Shalom.
Shalom.